I've seen people put people out of business by taking this strategy. I think noise is actually coming from a lot of the media channel sales of these one-off opportunities.
I'm here with Caroline O.Connor, and you're probably the best connected person in Oxfordshire, I think. And then if you do business in Oxfordshire, I guarantee you know, or at least know who Caroline is.
I have made it my mission that networking is at the roots of all of my own marketing. So, yeah.
So we've got this Connect 4 here. Originally it was going to be poker, but
yeah,
poker doesn't seem to work for anybody. So we're going with Connect 4. And
Connect
what
4.
I'm going to do is, hopefully I'm going to beat you.
I'm going to ask a question.
Competitive. Well, so far I've lost every game. So
Good odds.
Every time I ask a question, we're going to play a round.
Okay.
If I beat you, I get to ask you what your greatest marketing disaster was and how you overcame it. And if you beat me, you get to ask me a question and I have to answer honestly.
Ooh, okay.
So we're going to start off and I'm going to go first.
That's where I was going to put one.
So Caroline, what do you do exactly?
So I am a marketing consultant and I focus on strategic marketing for SME business owners.
And strategic marketing, what's the difference between that and say digital marketing or one of the other?
So I look at full business strategy marketing. So all channels for the full picture of business. So not just the external voice and messaging, but the full 360. So that goes across the brand values, the channels to market, but the internal follow-on marketing with your teams, so customer service, the delivery, through to how you take your client out the other side and get feedback and turn them into your greatest referrer.
Right, okay. So like you say, a full 360 service.
Yeah.
And
let's go next.
Okay.
I'm going to go there.
And what is the thing about your role that might surprise other marketers?
I think because of my networking, and I've been doing it 25 years, my grounding is about collaboration. And I think some marketers can be quite threatened by other marketing specialists coming into their business, their environment. And I actually thrive on it because I think we all have a different talent to bring to every business. But we can all fall into our personal traps of the things we like. We get too close to our product, we get too close to our business, and we get too secure in our channels. And actually, by having somebody who is an advocate of your sector come in and offer a little perspective, actually adds huge value. And I think that's where I'm winning out at the moment.
Okay, so we're going to have another go. Now, I have actually been practicing because I've lost every game so far. So let's see.
That feels like an unfair advantage.
I think I need it.
Ooh. Okay, I'm going to go here.
So what's working in marketing in general right now, in your opinion?
I think the businesses that I see that are winning at the moment is persistence. The engagement journey, the nurturing journey of prospects and clients has become an awful lot longer than we've seen it historically. And those that have been creative with the number of different touch points on a consumer's journey, whether it be a prospect or an existing client, I see they're the ones that are winning out because they're not stopping the journey too soon or giving up too early. And that slightly bleeds into, I think, what people think as sales, but actually in marketing terms, the two are, they go hand in hand.
Certainly nowadays they do.
But for a marketer to equip their customer service team, their sales team, their digital teams with enough in their toolbox to have a variety of different engagement points, I think they're the ones that I see winning at the moment.
Right. And taking very much that multi-channel approach.
Totally, yeah.
All right.
Oh, the thought going into this. Right, I'm now going to go for a defensive move.
Okay. And what's noise at the moment? Because there's so much a marketer could do. There's just so many channels. There's so many touch points. Like, what's a waste of time?
I think because it's challenging, people's budgets are getting smaller, tighter. We're wanting more bang for our buck. I think noise is actually coming from a lot of the media channel sales of these one-off opportunities. Here's an advertorial opportunity. Here's an article opportunity. Here's a short-term campaign, which is it's literally a splash in the ocean. And that for me, when marketers are being challenged with, we need more exposure, we need to have bang for our buck now. The sales team are crying out for leads and prospects, and you're almost backed into a corner going, we've got to do something different. And they'll take those one-offs. And I think experienced marketers stand their ground and know that you need longer term consistency. But where smaller SME business owners, they're easily sold to, and they have that threat of, I need to turn business next month. So they'll take the article, they'll take the short quick fix. And we all know from experience that you're never going to get return on investment in one-offs. I get frustrated with the media salespeople trying to sell one-offs. It's like, sell intelligently, sell with the strategic planning behind it, understand that long-term engagement, the consistency of appearance, the warming of that audience. You know, you can't just go onto radio or go into a magazine or go into a newspaper with one article and think that that audience is going to go, oh, you're new, I'm going to buy from you. It's just not the psychology of buying now. So the noise is coming from the desperation of needing to do sales targets and all the rest of it. But that doesn't help junior marketers or business owners that are under pressure to perform, which is where I come in quite often and go, no, hold your game, do it, but do it properly. You know, plan your budget to afford to do 12 months, 6 months minimum, you know, but warm the audience up before you start hitting them with the sales message.
So it sounds like there's an opportunity for those media sales companies to offer a better product. So rather than the one-off opportunities, something that has a longer tail to it, it's something with consistency. There's probably something to be done there. Definitely.
And, you know, I've worked for media outlets historically, and they do have those products, but they come around on an annual basis. And there are new people coming into their business, and it's also their onboarding of their salespeople to educate them to sell responsibly, and to go in, you know, the media businesses that win out are the ones that actually educate their sales team to think like a marketeer, to have the language of a marketeer and understand what works for them, because then actually they sell ethically, but also they're going to retain their clients because the client will see results. I had a great experience with a local radio station several years ago in Pembrokeshire Radio. And we ran ads for a while and it just wasn't working. And they had a great approach and almost like a consultative approach to it. And we swapped out the ads for a bi-weekly spot, and it was for a holiday cottage company. And so we wanted to position ourselves as the experts in the tourism industry. So that if you were an owner of a holiday cottage, you'd come to FBM Holidays. And it was fantastic. We went around all these different businesses and we weren't selling. It was just exposing what's happening, what's new, what are problems. And that approach, that long tail, we really saw the results from that. Well, my background's radio, and I sold for the largest radio group in the country. And it was very much that, you know, that baseline consistency, engage, be there with the audience, thick and thin, but then engage them in different ways through, you know, spots like that where you're placing yourself as the expert, interviews, competitions, if you want that good feel factor. Sponsorships are brilliant on radio because they give that consistency to the messaging and actually the flexibility for multiple messaging at any given week. But that aligned with your other channels so that they really do dovetail into campaigns that people are receiving that frequency across radio, a digital print, outdoor print, you know, that actually as they go around their daily routine, that you're they're interacting with you in different ways. And I think that's also one of the keys at the moment is the multi-channel approach of sometimes people can get too linear in digital.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned something interesting, which is the audience first approach. And I think that junior marketers and small businesses, their focus is on their needs and not necessarily what the audience wants.
Oh, how many times have we sat with a business owner or a marketeer saying, are you your ideal client? Because they buy with their personal preferences, but actually are they their ideal client? And I would probably say 90% of the time they're not.
Yeah.
And it's like, why are you trying to market to yourself? You don't want you. Who do you want? Market to the people in the channels where they are, not what you consume.
Absolutely. And I think that the messaging is often about what's best for the business or what concerns them. So it might be on their business success. Well, that's probably meaningless to the consumer.
No. And I think consumers are more intelligent now, and there are personal perspectives on life, whether it be sustainability, whether it be community values. They want to buy, and they're willing to now be more choosy with placing their business with people that align themselves with their values. So that is, I would probably say that's something in the last decade that has gone from it's a nice to have to an absolute given in your messaging.
And is that a demographic issue, sort of like a more of a millennial Gen Z thing, or do you see that with...
I think it comes across all generations, definitely more so with the Gen Z, but I think my generation, I won't say yours because we're definitely not in the same generation, but even my generation, I think we are more attuned to that now than we probably ever have been.
Right.
So yeah, it's becoming more and more important.
And all for the better.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
No, I think the problem I've had before has been so focused on my own moves.
Damn it. I thought I'd diffused where I was going to go next. Okay, where am I going to go?
And what should marketers absolutely avoid?
I think I touched on it a minute ago. Becoming too linear with their marketing. Digital is probably the easiest platform to measure, and it can be managed in-house more effectively, although I advocate experts in all of the digital outlets. But I see quite often that clients, and especially with more junior marketeers, they're comfortable in that digital space, say social media, paid ads, SEO. It's all online, and there's huge competition in that channel. But actually, when you mix it up with more traditional channels and some more direct engagement with your consumers, the power is, it's phenomenally different. So I've just seen an awful lot of marketing plans recently that are just too linear in digital only. And they seem to have, because it's difficult, and I get it, it's very difficult to measure certain channels. It doesn't mean to say that they're not having an impact.
Absolutely. Attribution is a problem. And I totally agree. And I think that one of the temptations is to double down on digital because you have data to analyze.
Yep.
But I think that if you take a step back and look at the data that you're getting, that's leading you to conclusions that maybe aren't the most effective.
Yeah. And I guess my experience comes from that radio background. Whereas when you look at digital analytics, when you combine it with a radio campaign and certainly with an outdoor media campaign, the difference in your traffic and the quality and page impressions and conversions, they phenomenally change. So quite often, if somebody is reaching out into a new medium that they haven't tried before, like radio or outdoors, we do some benchmarking beforehand of what the traffic was doing before the campaign, and then you then track the changes of that campaign, because actually the brand searches. So the biggest one for me is always, the radio's not working at all. Okay, but your brand search analytics, what's happened? And they go through the roof. And people go, oh, I didn't. And that's how you can track. radio.
Right. Yeah.
Because actually people are seeing and hearing and engaged with the brand and do a brand search rather than a sector search. So when you start to monitor those, so again, it depends on knowing what to look for in your analytics. But once you know, then actually there is ways of measuring things. Outdoor is phenomenal. I think it's a tried and tested method. It's one of those passive mediums that you just consume in your everyday, like radio. But it has a huge impact on your digital journey.
I think that it's the cost and the difficulty of attribution that scares people about using those.
Yeah. And there has to be some confidence and there has to be some faith behind it. And I think that's where there are a million marketing consultants and agencies and specialists nowadays. And this fractional marketing officer, position that seems to have become a real development now comes into its own because somebody who's got experience and background, but you can buy their time within an achievable budget means that you get that experience and the hand holding because you have to hold your game. You're going to do a large investment like that and it needs to be over a considerable period of time to really see its effect. You've got to have the confidence to know and experience that you've seen a year's campaign, 2 years, 3 years campaign. It's not right, we're going to try that for 4 weeks and then we'll measure it on 4 weeks. Well, just give me your money and I'll go and put it to better use. I'll go on holiday or something. And that's normally my response is that if you're only going to try something for 4 weeks, I could have a really good holiday on that money or I could go out for dinner on that money. Like either do it properly, but if you've not got the experience in that sector or in that medium or having campaigns, multi-channel campaigns and seeing the impact of the combination, often they get pulled too early and then you've done an awful lot of hard work and you don't get the deserved results.
And that's frustrating for you and the client.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
So this is getting quite strategic now.
I hope so. Okay. And what's the biggest external threat to marketing at the moment?
Indecision. There are an awful lot of people that are just sitting on the fence and delayed decisions. So I have marketed and sold through an election year before. I've sold through a recession before. And when you have business owners that have an air of uncertainty, that they're not quite sure how things are going to go, they kind of buckle down and sit on the fence. And that, from a marketing perspective, is like putting handcuffs on, because where your competition will win out are the ones that keep going, keep messaging, keep engaging, because as you shrink back, they get the loudest space in the noise and the attention of your consumers. I worked with a few people during the last recession, actually, that openly said, this is my moment to grab market share.
Right.
This is my moment where I know my competition are sat on the fence. They're freezing their budgets, they're pulling certain campaigns, they're reducing their staff, they're not growing their team. This is my moment, I'm going to go for it. Yeah. And they have grown substantial market share in that year just by being consistent and keeping going and doing what they do and doing it well. So I think, indecision is the biggest challenge that we face. Because people need to be bold about their decisions. And in all sense and purposes, in an election year, really and truly, when that decision is made in that month, is it going to affect your business there and then in that moment? No, it's not.
No.
So why wait to make the decision until after elections, when actually that means you've probably missed, and this year, gosh, whenever it's going to happen, you could lose 8-9 months. What, you're just not going to market your business, you're not going to engage new prospects, you're not going to keep filling your pipeline because a decision might go a certain way. Let's wait till the decision's made and then let's react and plan and be strategic of having those counterbalance options. But why lose 9 months of traction because you don't know the outcome?
Absolutely. And I think that elections can be people are going to overthink it and its effect. Yes, it does change a lot, but people are still going to be buying. People are still going to retain their behavior.
Yep.
And as you say, as your competition retracts, they're going to be wanting to buy something.
Yep.
So it's almost worth having a war chest to dip into during these periods, and that's when you double down.
Absolutely. And I love working with brands that are brave and go, oh, actually, yeah, no, you're right, let's go, let's do it. And then sitting sort of 8-10 months later going, look at the results. Right. It's exciting.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It's a bit like I used to work in investing. And one thing that is true is it's called the behavior gap, which is when the economy is going down, people tend to sell into cash. Yep. That time, the best thing to do is acquire.
Yep.
So that when things do turn around, you've got that market share in terms of marketing, or assets in terms of investing.
Yep.
And as that value raises up, it lifts you phenomenally.
Yep. I've seen people put people out of business by taking this strategy.
Right.
Where somebody has been just frozen with indecision and just gone, actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to invest in that. And their competitor has just come along and gone, well, that's fine. I'll go and talk to a client and I'll engage them and I'll recruit them and I'll win them over and I'll have them as a lifetime client. And they come out the other end and they're like, okay, well, we can't survive anymore because our loyal customer base has gone somewhere else because we effectively ignored them and we didn't have a pipeline. So, or they close off the pipeline completely in complete reliance on a faithful, loyal customer base. But loyalty in customers is really hard to keep and maintain. And therefore, if you're not doing that well enough either, then they'll go somewhere else. So, it's going to be an interesting year, 2024.
It certainly is, yeah. So we're getting close to the end of the questions, but I think you're still being very competitive here. Okay.
I think we might be playing the same game.
What's your greatest marketing achievement?
Oh, do you know, I had to think about this one. I think one of the ones I'm most proud of is I worked in a club in Henley for a good 12 years before I came out of hospitality and went into sales and to marketing. And I went back for a 3-year period where they effectively were at a point in time where they'd sort of got stuck with where they were. Their brand value was really low and negative within the surrounding area. Their membership was at an all-time low. They had an international annual event which had just stagnated. And having been back for a visit and seen what was going on was kind of a bit shocked of, gosh, this is an elite business environment with really high quality, but so many things weren't being done with confidence and purpose. And I did go back and I spent 3 years working on the brand, working on re-engaging the community, re-establishing its brand values and growing its membership and redefining an international event to what is expected of an international event in the 21st century. And the turnaround in the 3 years was phenomenal. And I left with a membership with a waiting list, having put £250,000 in sales onto a 5-day event, and its brand reputation in a very different position. I also launched a £4.2 million fitness centre, which was a lot of fun in the middle of that. Right. That's probably one of my and going in with, it wasn't anything, I didn't wave a magic wand. I didn't do anything that was creative or, it was the literally 101 basics of marketing, brand consistency in messaging, confidence in the brand, and literally banging my drum for 3 years. That, no, and taking the naysayers head on, going, well, how have you formed that opinion? Explain it to me. Asked all the questions. And then was sort of, so you're forming an opinion on an experience 20 years ago, 10 years ago. Have you been in recently? So challenging the status quo of, you've formed an opinion, but it's about a decade out of date.
Right.
And the transformation was done. I am a bit of a fixer, so once I've done 3 projects, I was a bit like, right, okay, it's probably time to move on. So we did, moved on to my next challenge, open my own business. But yeah, that's probably one of my greatest success, of just seeing an environment that deserved to be recognised for what it was, and to be busy and having people enjoying the space, the service, the staff, the events, and the whole community was, a lot of fun.
It sounds like maybe that business had stagnated because they'd been relying on something that had worked and hadn't innovated in your absence. Would you say that's right?
Yes, yeah. And that's effectively what had happened. They'd had somebody in the position for about 10 years that had just got, a bit stuck in the environment and didn't quite know how to progress it, and was still trying to manage it. That what had worked 10 years previously was no longer working, and they just kept doing the same old. Right. So, but as they moved on, I moved in, and don't get me wrong, I was there with my little drum and sort of may have ruffled a few feathers along the way, but I think you have to be a certain character to have true belief in, what the objective is, what the strategy is, and really stick to it. And when you face the challenges and the hurdles in the road, be confident with the strategy that you've set and agreed on, and push through. Because I do think that, and don't get me wrong, there was a number of occasions where I faced challenges where it was like, oh, this isn't us, no, we're pushing too hard, and then suddenly when the results come, they go, oh, okay. So yeah, sometimes you have to, as a marketeer, you have to stand your ground and be brave and go, no, I know that we're on the right, we're on the right course, but we now have to keep pushing, and it's not a stop and let's rethink. And I think we face challenges now actually where there is this instant result sort of expectation. Yeah. It's certainly a generational thing, this instant access to everything. And I think as business owners, it's seeping in now where we want to do something and we just expect an instant response and the results. And that isn't necessarily achievable all the time. With specific campaigns, absolutely, but only if you've built the foundations to maximise on that short-term campaign. Because if the base isn't there and the audience isn't warm, then it will fall flat on its face anyway. And I think people jump to, right, we'll do that instant campaign for the instant result, but they haven't done probably the 12 to 24 months legwork to build the brand value, build the brand exposure, to be able to drop a little campaign where you can really pick up loads of prospects. They just go straight in for the quick campaign and they go, well, why didn't it work? Yeah. Like, well, I can tell you why, but you're not going to like the answer. So yeah, it's a lot of my world. And now I'm really challenged of where to put my next. Right, I'm going to stick with where I'm going.
See, I've run out of questions, but if I go here, I'm going to fool you twice, but then you're going to block me. Yeah. And in all honesty, all right,
it'll be a draw.
But I'm enjoying the conversation, so let's keep going.
And I am going to block you. That's only fair.
So
but where do you go next?
Where do I go next? Well, before I do that...
Oh, no, you're going to win. I've just seen it. Gosh, you have been practicing.
Well, this is a first.
You have been practicing.
But before I do, I want to know, hear from you, the difference between working as a marketer within an organisation and then going out on your own. Because I do find that it tends to be something that women do. Because I work with a lot of marketers, and generally most of the people that I work with are women who have their own marketing agency, who have worked inside an organisation prior. What makes that change, and what's the benefit of making that jump?
For me, I think there are 2 forms of marketing. There is the marketing manager who is very hands-on. They'll do the web updates, they'll do the social media, they'll create the content, the copy, and they're involved in that really deliverable element. My roles have always been slightly in the director level of marketing. So I had a marketing team. I worked for a marketing agency that I had departments, to do the digital, to do the design, all of that lot. So I'm more the conductor because I see the bigger picture. So it was when I came out of working in the private members club, when I resigned and went, right, need my next challenge, I did look at the job market and went, okay, do I go with, and there are definitely two levels. And I wasn't at the marketing manager level, I was above it. But actually the marketing director roles I was looking at didn't really excite me because, again, the expectation was, well, you'll do all of that, but you'll actually do this bit as well. So I just went, actually, my passion is about bringing confidence to business owners. Relationship management has been a fundamental part of every role I've ever done because I've been in sales and hospitality. So what's in it for me is, yes, it's the marketing, but if I can help a business owner be confident and really ensure that they get a return on their, not only the monetary investment, but their time investment. Because business owners they wear multiple hats, they're busy people, their head's in 4 different places at any one time. They're an HR manager one minute, they're the salesperson the next, they're the finance director the next minute. Marketing always slips to the bottom of the pile, but it's one of the fundamental things that you cannot step away from to have a successful business. So by coming out and creating Fourthborn was, I will do the strategic bit. I'll do the bit that I'm really good at. And I know that I can add value, but because it's my business, I get to choose who I work with. I get to choose the personality and the business where I can add value. And I think a lot of the time, from my experiences, when you're internal to a business and you're a marketing manager, it becomes like a thankless task. You're trying to set the fire in the engine and get things working, but getting everybody on board, ensuring that you're bringing all of your colleagues with you, because marketing is not just me trudging away going, right, here's the strategy, right, we're going to do this channel, that's that campaign. If you haven't got the entire team and you're communicating it effectively to them, it becomes a really thankless task, and they're not all going to get on board. But when you can go into a business for a small period of time, get the business owner some real clarity on who they're talking to and the messaging and where they stand in the marketplace, and then you can help them engage in inspire their workforce, you can just sit back and go, okay, crack on with it.
Bit.
Yeah, get on with it.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
What I didn't expect when I launched the business was I'd go in and do these, strategic health checks, or go in and do a strategy workshop and sessions to create a strategy for them. What I've ended up doing is actually realizing that they get the strategy bit, but they really have to have the content and annual campaign content created so that they can almost visualize it a little bit. But then actually I've retained the clients on retainers because actually they want the accountability. They want that perspective of the check-ins. So some are monthly, some are quarterly, and some are strategic reviews, and some of them are real accountability of, I need my hand holding because this is something new. We're trying something new and we're facing some hurdles. And I think a few of them would have stopped at the second or third hurdle, but we're still going a year later, at the end of this week, it's 2 years in business, and I'm still with them, because they're just going, actually, you keep me focused, you keep me from kind of buckling and giving up on something that actually is really working. Sometimes I just can't see it. So yeah, choosing to work with valued-based people that have a real passion about their business, but are challenged by the complexities of being a business owner, it gives me that nice reward, as well as doing the bit that I really love, because I'm in my happy world of strategy and marketing. So I get to talk all the things I love every day. But I dip in and out of their world and normally light it up or put a rocket under it sometimes.
It sounds like you're also developing relationships.
Yeah, totally. And I don't think you can be in the market as a marketeer, and certainly as a consultant, without being able to build relationships. It's about trust. They have to have trust in you, that you've got the experience and you've got the expertise, but also that you understand them. And I think, having homed my client base, I'm very values-based.
Right.
90% of my clients are family, generational businesses, or husband and wife couples.
Okay. Right.
And the thing that always comes out really early on is I can identify the challenges that they're up against, and I understand where they want to go and what's holding them back. And I'm enabling them to be bolder by creating that confidence, because it becomes, with a strategy, you get clarity, which gives you the confidence to push where you probably wouldn't have pushed before.
Right.
So I've seen people that have now taken on their first employee. They've tried new channels. They've had actually one of them has had the confidence to cancel a channel that he's been paying for 7 years with very little return, but it was a safety net. He thought it's what everybody needed, and he's completely pushing out with a new strategy this year.
Can I ask what that was?
Pay-per-click.
Okay.
So he's dropped his Google pay-per-click, and he has engaged a PR agency for social media content and PR content.
Interesting. So do you see that at the moment there's greater value in social content? Because I think that I mentioned this recently in one of my own videos, is that personal brand is absolutely what's winning right now. Yep. People don't really care for a company's brand. It's all about the personality, the individual. Yep. Yep. So, and you're seeing that's working for your customers as well.
Yeah. I mean, this is a very high-end consultancy style service. It's a personal recommended buy. And for me, I struggled with, okay, pay-per-click is attracting people that have a need for your service, but they're coming in really cold, and therefore the conversions were really low. Whereas building relationships with profiles through social media and PR and putting some real expertise around the individuals will get them much further.
Yeah.
And they may have fewer leads, but they will be such higher quality. And this is not a volume-based business. This is a quality-based business.
Right.
And the biggest thing that people find more challenging is talking about themselves.
Sure.
You know, bigging yourself up and going out there and be like, you know, some eccentrics can do it and it's like water off a duck's back. For us mere mortals, it's difficult. So engage the right specialist, and they are loving the fact that the company they work very closely with, they've got to know them, they've got the confidence in them, but they are creating really engaging content for them that they can share across multiple channels. It's got multiple use. It's not costing them any more than their pay-per-click ads. Right. But I guarantee at the end of the year, it will. So a couple of years, it had created one conversion. Now that conversion, because of their price point, paid for the investment in pay-per-click, but it was one client over an entire year. Yeah. Where investing the same amount of money into social media content and PR content that he's then using across more channels within his business, I have no doubt by the end of the year we'll be having a conversation of the number of new clients that has generated.
I'd be interested to find out in a year's time how much of a difference that makes.
Come back and ask me, because I'll pick up the phone and ask him.
And I guess that would dovetail nicely with effective SEO. So rather than it being PPC, it'll just be search based. Yeah.
And that was one of the things that again, their website had been created for them 6 or 7 years ago. It was with a digital agency that had become really, really comfortable. They hadn't had any updates done probably in 4 years. Yeah. So therefore the website was literally just, it ranked very highly for a number of searches, but are not enough. And in this day and age, those regular updates. So by creating the blog content, by linking it to their social media, having their social media drive to the website, you know, we were just connecting the dots again. And that's probably one of the other areas that I come across all the time, even with experienced marketeers, is that the website has a campaign and a number of updates going on to it. It's not necessarily aligned maybe with their PR activity or their social media activity, or there's that PR activity, but then it's not linked on the website. So that hook is not there for when the PR hits, you know. So
the journey falls.
The journey falls really quickly. And then you've got the owners or the managers or the MDs going, well, hold on a minute, we've just got ourselves in, you know, some national, you know, I don't know, the FT or something, and going, right, we've just had 3,000 hits to our website because of this article, not got one prospect. What's happened? And it's just because they weren't aligned and it hadn't been based as a campaign. But also, The rest of the team didn't know that that article was going to happen.
Right.
So they couldn't jump on and support it. They didn't get that extra leverage. And then they didn't then share it further on
and that
with
comes
customers.
back to your point about having the whole team on board.
Yeah. It's internal communication. A lot of the audits I've done have been with really established brands with a very high quality service. But when was the last, they're so busy in growth, when was the last time that you checked every touch point for your client? Because as a marketer, there's nothing more frustrating than having these amazing campaigns and having all of the right messaging going out and then it falling flat on its face because the first experience of that customer, once they convert, isn't matching what you've sold.
Right. Yeah.
So again, that for me, marketing is 360. It's every touch point. It's every piece of material. It's every conversation. It's every follow-up. It's not just what you put on your social media and on your website and in your paid ads or your SEO. What's happening post-engagement? What's your onboarding? What's your client communication? What's your follow-up? What's your client services? What's your, even down to what's your finance engagement? Because actually, if it's not reinforced, if those values aren't reinforced all the way through, clients go, oh, hold on a minute.
There's an inconsistency.
And therefore confidence drops and then they'll move on. So again, I'm a farmer, not a hunter.
Right.
Get them in, long lifetime journey, happy all the way. Hence, I look at the 360 because I personally would like every client of mine to become my biggest advocate. I don't need to do a lot of marketing when everything comes through referrals. But I'm a consultancy-based product. So my aim is have that experience, get the confidence and have that person go and find me my next customer. Keep them and grow them. So
that's the approach I'm trying to take. And I guess that comes back to what you were saying earlier about the long game, consistency. Yeah. You've been, you've been networking for
25 years.
There we go.
Scarily it's that long. But I've used networking for every single role I have ever had. So people I think go, oh, you only do networking if you're a business owner. Well, I was an operations manager. I was a salesperson. I've been a marketeer and a business owner. And I have used networking in every single role to build relationships. And basically, my rule of networking is be nosy. Networking is not about going out and selling your services to anybody. Networking is your opportunity to be really nosy and understand what other businesses and what's going on. One, it's a great tool to share with my clients because I become an even bigger asset because I've got my ear to the ground. I know what's going on. I can see opportunities before they actually hit the market because somebody's talking about it. But also it enables me to identify if there's an opportunity or not. So it's a savvy use of my time. So 25 years on, I'm still networking.
Okay.
Go on, do the last one and win.
Okay. Well, I did explain earlier that this leads to the final question. Yeah. Which is, what was your greatest marketing disaster and how did you overcome it?
And it was a horrendous experience. Right. I completely underestimated the impact of a free event with Paw Patrol, which is the
children's brand.
Yes.
Right.
Basically, it was when I was working for a full service marketing agency and we looked after a garden centre and they wanted to attract more families because they had a cafe and they had some new propositions within the nursery area. So the team came up with a campaign that we would put on meet and greets with Paw Patrol over on a Saturday in the summer weekend. Come along, free. Come and meet and greet them, and there'd be lots of little goodie freebie takeaways. And we had 3,000 parents queuing on a summer's day. The characters themselves, that are human beings in, life-size costumes, can only be in the costumes at 40 minutes at a time because it gets really hot and then they have to take an hour's break. So we had 3 performances where you could go meet and greet. Well, we had queues around the shopping centre, and I'm a hands-on person, so I was there on the day, branded T-shirt, giving the freebies away. And we'd had other things like face painting and free ice cream and other activities for them to do, a treasure hunt, other stuff. But it was all free. And I actually had a woman scream in my face, "You have ruined my daughter's birthday because she hadn't got to meet Paw Patrol." Quite frankly, we completely underestimated that we're going to have 3,000 parents with children turn up in a 3-hour window.
Yeah.
We handled it. We gave lots of free merchandise away. We did lots of apologies. It did hit the Oxford Mail because it was a disaster, apparently. The client recovered quite quickly because actually it did meet its objective. We had 3,000 families come down and see the new premises, and their footfall over the couple following months shot through the roof.
Well, there we go. So I guess it was
a horrendous experience, and I will never do meet and greet performances of a child nature ever again. I've been scarred for life. Yeah. But yeah, it worked for the client. So they were. We did all the PR and the management afterwards, so the client sort of didn't have to do any front-facing stuff. We did it all for them. So, and that relationship still goes on today. So, it wasn't a huge damage, but it still, the objectives of the activity, it still worked.
I guess it was a victim of its own success.
It was, yeah. But yeah, don't ever have Paw Patrol at an event for free.
Fair enough. Well, Caroline, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
This is Caroline from Forthborn. And if you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe, please rate it. It pushes it through the roof in terms of the algorithm. I'd really appreciate if you could do that and share it with anybody else that you think might get some value. Thank you for listening.